I thought it was a joke, but the alien woman accepted it without hesitation. Everyone was shocked. Captain Aaron Voss had always been known for two things, his boldness and his sense of humor. In the Galactic Exploration Corps, he was often the one who would take chances others avoided. His reputation was not just built on skill, but also on the way he could lighten tense situations with a joke or a clever remark. To his crew, Aaron was fearless, but sometimes a little reckless. The ship had been docked on Thalassa Prime, a planet known across the galaxy for its lush violet forests, floating mountains, and the intelligence of its inhabitants. Humans were visitors here, and the Thalassans were cautious of every word and gesture. They had lived peacefully for thousands of years, guided by strict traditions and a strong sense of logic. Their culture valued discipline, intellect, and fairness, and they watched outsiders carefully to see if they could match these standards. Aaron had been invited to a diplomatic feast, a rare event where humans and Thalassans came together to discuss trade, technology, and culture. The Grand Hall of the Thalassan Council was vast and filled with shimmering lights that seemed to dance across the walls like water. Tall windows looked out onto floating gardens where flowers glowed softly in colors that humans could barely name. The air smelled faintly of something sweet and fresh, like a mix of rain and mint, and a gentle hum, almost musical, filled the hall. Seated at the head of the hall was Liara, the Thalassan ambassador. She was unlike any being Aaron had met before. Her skin shimmered faintly in soft silver tones, and her eyes held a depth that suggested centuries of wisdom. Her movements were fluid, deliberate, and graceful, each gesture measured but natural. Humans often found it difficult to read her expression, but Aaron was intrigued rather than intimidated. As the feast progressed, humans and Thalassans exchanged polite words and small gifts. Aaron, ever the entertainer, leaned toward his human companions and whispered, "I wonder if she's as clever as she looks. Maybe I should test her." His friends laughed nervously. "Test her? Aaron, remember, this is a diplomatic feast, not a contest." Aaron shrugged with a mischievous smile. "Exactly, that's why it would be perfect. No one expects it, just a little joke, a little game, nothing serious." He stood suddenly, tapping a glass to draw attention. The hall quieted and all eyes turned toward him. Aaron's voice was strong, confident, and carried easily across the room. "I have a challenge for our honored guest," he said with a grin. "A friendly contest of wit, just a simple game of intelligence and quick thinking. No harm, no risk, just fun." "What do you say, Ambassador Liara?" For a moment there was silence. The Thalassan guests glanced at each other, curious but cautious. Some of the human diplomats shifted nervously, unsure if this was appropriate. Aaron's crew looked worried, thinking he might have overstepped. Then Liara's eyes focused on him. She tilted her head slightly and studied him with quiet attention. Her lips curved in what could almost be called a smile, and then she said, clearly and without hesitation, "I accept." The hall erupted in murmurs and shocked gasps. Humans were surprised because no one expected her to agree to what was meant as a joke. Thalassans were startled because it was unusual for an outsider to initiate a contest, let alone one so public. Aaron himself froze for a heartbeat. His joke had been accepted as a serious challenge. Aaron's grin returned, wider this time. "Excellent," he said. "We shall see whose mind is sharper tonight." Liara nodded, her posture perfect and calm. "A fair contest requires clear rules," she said. "We will each take turns asking questions or presenting scenarios. A correct response earns a point. The first to 5 points wins." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "Simple enough, but," he added with a playful tone, "I warn you, humans are unpredictable." "Unpredictability," Liara replied, "can be either a strength or a weakness. Let us begin and see which it will be." The hall arranged a small area for the contest. 2 seats were placed facing each other on a slightly raised platform. The human crew gathered close, whispering excitedly, while the Thalassans watched with curious attention. Aaron took his seat with a confident posture, trying to appear calm even as his heart raced. Liara sat opposite him, serene, her silver skin glowing faintly in the ambient light. The first round began with Liara posing a logic puzzle. Aaron listened carefully. It was a challenge, but one he could solve using creativity rather than rigid reasoning. With a clever twist, he gave an answer that was technically correct, though unexpected. A ripple of surprise ran through the audience. Liara considered it, then nodded slightly. "Correct," she said, her voice calm but approving. The next round was Aaron's turn. He asked Liara a question about human behavior, something she could not have experienced firsthand. She paused, as if analyzing the depths of human culture, and then answered in a way that impressed both humans and thalassans. It was accurate, insightful, and showed that she had studied humans carefully. As the rounds continued, it became clear that this was not a simple game. Aaron relied on his instincts, quick thinking, and creativity. Liara relied on logic, deep knowledge, and careful analysis. The contrast between human spontaneity and alien precision fascinated the crowd. Each round drew more attention, with whispers of admiration spreading among the onlookers. By the fifth round, the score was tied. The tension was palpable. Humans leaned forward, hoping for a small victory. Thalassans remained composed, watching as if witnessing a new form of art. Aaron felt a rush of excitement. He had never experienced a contest like this, where every move was a test not just of skill but of identity. Liara posed a question that was deceptively simple. On the surface, it appeared to be a straightforward logic puzzle, but it contained hidden cultural nuances that only someone attentive could notice. Aaron considered it carefully. He could rely on his instincts or he could overthink. Choosing instinct, he answered in a way that seemed almost reckless. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then Liara's eyes widened slightly, not in anger but in genuine surprise. She nodded slowly, acknowledging the cleverness of his response. "You are correct," she said, her voice carrying across the hall. A cheer rose from the human audience. The thalassans, initially silent, began murmuring in recognition of something remarkable. Aaron had not only matched Liara in intelligence but had surprised her with the unpredictability unique to humans. Liara rose gracefully and extended her hand across the table. "A fair contest," she said, "and a reminder that the human mind is not to be underestimated. You have shown creativity, quick thinking, and courage, qualities worth respecting." Aaron stood, shaking her hand with a wide grin. "And you," he said, "have shown that aliens are far more impressive than humans ever imagined." The hall broke into applause. Some of the thalassans bowed subtly, acknowledging the skill of the humans. Others whispered among themselves, realizing that they had underestimated the visitors from Earth. In that moment, Aaron understood something profound. What had started as a joke had become an extraordinary demonstration of humanity's strength, not just in intelligence, but in imagination, adaptability, and courage. The humans had shown that they could hold their own, even in a world far more advanced than their own. The feast continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Humans were no longer seen as mere guests. They were recognized as equals in a realm of intellect and strategy. And Aaron, once the joker of the crew, had become a symbol of human ingenuity and audacity, proof that sometimes a joke could reveal the true heart of a species. As the night drew on, Aaron looked across the table at Liara. There was mutual respect in her gaze, and perhaps something more: curiosity, wonder, and the possibility of future alliances. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, but for the first time, Aaron felt that humans had claimed a place where they could surprise, impress, and even inspire. And it all began with what everyone thought was a joke. The day after the feast, the story of the duel between Captain Aaron Voss and Ambassador Liara spread quickly through the halls of the Thalassan capital. Humans whispered excitedly among themselves, while thalassans discussed the event with a mix of curiosity and cautious admiration. No one could remember a time when a human had so boldly challenged tradition and succeeded, not through raw power, but through intelligence and creativity. Aaron had expected the attention, but he did not expect the invitation that arrived that morning. A small, holographic message floated above his desk aboard the human ship docked near the floating city. It was Liara. "Captain Voss," the message began in her calm, measured tone, "if your schedule permits, I would like to invite you to observe a training session in the Thalassan strategic arts. It is not a test, but an opportunity to learn and share knowledge. Your unpredictability has intrigued me, and I believe we can teach each other much." Aaron leaned back in his chair, a mixture of excitement and apprehension stirring inside him. A learning session? With Liara, he could barely contain his grin. "This is incredible," he muttered. "Not a joke this time, real training." The human crew was equally excited. Lieutenant Myra, his second-in-command, raised an eyebrow. "Aaron, are you sure you're ready for this? The Thalassans are not known for being easy teachers." Aaron shrugged. "I'm ready." Besides, we humans have a talent they don't expect, improvisation. That counts for something, right? Myra laughed softly. That's your confidence speaking, Captain, just don't embarrass us. By mid-afternoon, Aaron arrived at the training grounds, a massive open space floating above the forested valleys of Thalassa Prime. The ground itself shimmered slightly, made of a material that responded to movement, absorbing energy from motion and reflecting it as soft light. Around the edges of the grounds, Thalassan trainees moved gracefully, practicing coordination, precision, and strategic thinking. Liara awaited him at the center, standing with the poise of someone who was both teacher and observer. She nodded politely as he approached. Welcome, Captain. Today you will witness and participate in exercises designed to strengthen the mind and body. Our goal is not only skill but understanding. Can humans adapt to these techniques? Aaron grinned. Let's find out. The first exercise was deceptively simple. Thalassans formed a circle around Aaron and Liara. The task, to respond to unpredictable patterns of movement while maintaining balance and coordination. For a human, balance exercises were ordinary. For a Thalassan, balance involved mental calculations, anticipating sequences that changed in milliseconds. Aaron stepped forward. At first, he stumbled slightly. His human body was not built for the precise, fluid movements of the Thalassans. But he quickly adapted, using his instincts to compensate. When a trainee moved unpredictably to the left, Aaron reacted with a human twist of strategy, a sudden step back, a shift of weight that no Thalassan had expected. Murmurs of approval rippled through the spectators. Liara's expression remained calm, but her eyes followed every move. You learn quickly, she said. Most humans would struggle to maintain balance for more than a few seconds, yet you adapt. Aaron smiled sheepishly. We humans have to adapt, it's how we survive. The next exercise tested memory and prediction. Thalassans launched a series of floating, glowing spheres that moved in patterns across the training field. Aaron had to predict where they would land and intercept them with his hands. The spheres moved faster and faster, some changing direction suddenly. Many humans would have failed quickly. Aaron, however, noticed subtle cues, the flicker of the sphere's energy, the angle of approach, and adjusted instinctively. Liara's gaze sharpened. Your instincts are unusual among humans. Most rely on repetition and logic, but you anticipate. This is valuable. Aaron laughed. I guess all those years dodging trouble on Earth paid off. But Liara's next challenge was more than a test of reflexes. She introduced the mind grid, a device that projected three-dimensional puzzles into the air. Each puzzle required observation, logic, and creativity to solve. Thalassans solved them in moments, their minds moving through the layers of complexity with precision. Aaron stared at the first puzzle. The shapes twisted and rearranged themselves continuously. At first, he panicked slightly, unsure how to approach the constantly changing structure. Then, he remembered the lesson from the duel. Creativity could overcome rigid logic. He stopped trying to force the puzzle into a predictable pattern and instead used his intuition. With a series of unexpected moves, he shifted the elements in ways no Thalassan had anticipated. The puzzle solved itself. The floating shapes snapped into a perfect formation. Liara's eyes widened ever so slightly, a rare display of surprise. Interesting, she said. You are not merely clever, you perceive possibilities differently than we do. This is unique. Over the course of the afternoon, Aaron continued to participate in exercises designed to challenge memory, coordination, strategy, and prediction. Each time he succeeded not by brute force or sheer logic, but through a combination of improvisation, observation, and quick thinking. Thalassans watching began to whisper among themselves. He adapts like a predator, one murmured. Yes, another replied. And he does so without formal training. Extraordinary. Even the Thalassan trainees who were top in their classes seemed fascinated by Aaron. They had been trained to follow rules, anticipate sequences, and predict outcomes. Yet here was a human who broke patterns, creating solutions no Thalassan had considered. Liara observed quietly, then motioned for him to stop. Captain, she said, you have shown a remarkable aptitude, not just skill but understanding. Most humans fail to perceive the depth of Thalassan's strategy. You see beyond the obvious. Aaron smiled, a mixture of pride and modesty. I'm just lucky, I guess, or maybe humans have a way of seeing possibilities others overlook. Liara tilted her head, considering him. Possibilities, yes, that is the essence of your species. Unpredictable, creative, bold, traits that make humans both dangerous and valuable. Aaron blinked. Dangerous, that sounds intense. Dangerous, Liara repeated calmly. Not in a violent sense, but in the sense that your mind is not limited by conventional thinking. You challenge assumptions simply by existing. This is rare in the galaxy. The sun began to set over the floating gardens, casting soft violet and gold light across the training grounds. The exercises shifted from skill-based challenges to discussions of strategy. Liara explained advanced thalassen tactics, interstellar negotiation techniques, and ways of seeing problems from multiple perspectives. Aaron listened carefully, asking questions, sharing human approaches to problem-solving, and occasionally inserting a joke or a humorous analogy. Liara's calm demeanor never changed, but he could see her interest growing. The humans and thalassens were learning from each other, bridging a gap not just of culture but of perspective. As the session ended, Liara spoke again. Captain Voss today has shown something extraordinary. Your abilities have revealed that humans are capable of more than we anticipated. Your creativity, intuition, and adaptability are strengths that, if nurtured, could influence the galaxy in ways we cannot yet imagine. Aaron felt a surge of pride, tempered with humility. Thank you, Ambassador. I didn't expect that. I thought I was just keeping up, not impressing anyone. You have done more than keep up, Liara said. You have reminded us that intelligence comes in many forms. Not all wisdom is measured in logic alone. Sometimes it is the spark of imagination, the courage to act, and the willingness to take risks that defines greatness. The human crew cheered quietly for him, while thalassens nodded with respect. For Aaron, the lesson was clear. Humans had something unique. They could adapt in ways even the most advanced aliens could not predict. And in the vast galaxy, unpredictability could be a power greater than knowledge alone. As Aaron and Liara left the training grounds, walking through the glowing gardens, he felt a deep sense of connection, not just to this alien world, but to the possibilities of humanity. Perhaps the galaxy had underestimated humans, but Aaron knew that day by day, through courage, creativity, and curiosity, humans could earn a place among the stars not as guests but as equals. Liara glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the floating gardens. There is more to learn, she said, and I believe humans are capable of understanding it if they are willing to try, Aaron grinned. Then we'll try, and who knows, maybe we'll surprise you again. Liara smiled faintly. That is exactly what I hope. And so, what began as a joke turned into a lesson of respect, discovery, and the realization that humans were far more capable than anyone had thought. On Thalassa Prime, the story of Captain Aaron Voss was no longer just a tale of humor. It was a story of potential, skill, and the unpredictable strength of humanity. The following days on Thalassa Prime carried a different energy. Humans and thalassens alike could not stop talking about the duel and the training session that followed. What had begun as a joke, the kind that might have embarrassed a human diplomat, was now a source of quiet admiration. Captain Aaron Voss had done more than impress. He had shifted the way thalassens viewed humans. The floating city buzzed with whispers of his creativity and unpredictability. Merchants, officials, and trainees all mentioned him in passing, noting how he moved differently, thought differently, and solved problems in ways no thalassen could anticipate. Even the Thalassen Council, known for their reserved demeanor, held a meeting to discuss what they called the human phenomenon. Aaron, meanwhile, remained his usual playful self, though he felt a growing sense of responsibility. I thought it was just a joke, he told Lieutenant Myra as they walked through the garden corridors, but apparently humans can do more than we even imagine. Myra smiled. Not just more, you've shown that humans can surprise anyone, even the thalassens. Yes, but surprises can be dangerous, Aaron replied. I don't want us to be seen as reckless. We need to prove we're thoughtful too. The opportunity to demonstrate that thoughtfulness came sooner than expected. Liara invited Aaron to join her in a council session, a gathering of thalassen leaders to discuss an upcoming trade negotiation with a distant star system. These sessions were usually reserved for senior diplomats and strategists. Humans had been observers before, but Aaron was invited as a participant. When he arrived, he found a long, elegant table suspended above the city, seemingly floating in midair. Around it, thalassen leaders sat, their silver skin shimmering under the soft lights. Holographic displays of star maps and planetary resources hovered above the table, shifting and rotating as officials examined them. Liara greeted him calmly. "Captain Voss, your perspective as a human may provide insight that we have not considered. Observe, suggest, and question, but remember, this is a matter of strategy, not games." Aaron nodded. "Understood, no jokes this time." The session began with discussions of trade routes, resource allocation, and interstellar treaties. Thalassan spoke in precise terms, calculating probabilities and suggesting the most efficient solutions. Aaron listened carefully, noting the logic in their approaches, but also the patterns in which they tended to think. After several minutes, Liara asked, "Captain, you have observed our methods. Do you see a potential flaw in our proposed plan?" The council turned slightly to look at him. All eyes were on the human who had surprised them in the duel and training exercises. Aaron swallowed, aware that his answer could either impress or embarrass him. He studied the star maps carefully. "If the trade route passes close to the Arkan cluster," he began, pointing to a region on the hologram, "pirates or unaligned factions could intercept ships. The Thalassans tend to rely on predictable routes. Humans, on the other hand, often vary paths and schedules to avoid threats. Perhaps a hybrid approach, predictable for efficiency, unpredictable for safety, would protect the fleet without slowing trade." Murmurs filled the council chamber. Several Thalassans nodded slowly, clearly impressed. Liara's eyes flicked toward him with a hint of pride. "This is an unusual perspective," she said calmly. "You have considered not only logic but uncertainty and risk. That is valuable." Aaron smiled, trying to hide his excitement. "Just a human habit, expect the unexpected." The council continued, now including Aaron's suggestions in their planning. For the first time, humans were seen not as mere guests, but as contributors. This was a profound shift. Thalassans who had been skeptical now regarded humans as partners capable of insight and creativity. After the council session, Liara led Aaron to a quiet observation deck. From here, the city stretched endlessly, floating islands connected by bridges of shimmering energy. Below, the violet forests glowed faintly in the twilight. "You have done more than I expected, Captain," Liara said. "Most humans are cautious in unfamiliar settings, especially ones that involve diplomacy or strategy. Yet you contribute openly and thoughtfully." Aaron leaned against the railing, watching the floating gardens below. "Honestly, I just try to notice things others miss. Sometimes humans see solutions because we don't always follow rules the way aliens do." Liara tilted her head slightly. "That is true. Your unpredictability combined with observation makes you unique. Dangerous, yes, but also necessary. Many in the galaxy underestimate humans. You prove that underestimation is a mistake." Aaron chuckled. "I guess it's my job, then, to keep people guessing." In the days that followed, Aaron's reputation grew even more. Human crew members were given more responsibilities, participating in logistical planning, environmental surveys, and even minor diplomatic negotiations. Each time, Aaron's example reminded both humans and Thalassans that thinking differently was a strength. One morning, a group of Thalassan trainees approached Aaron with curiosity. "Captain Voss," one said politely, "would you teach us some human strategies?" "Methods of unpredictability, improvisation, and adaptation." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "You want to learn how humans think?" "Yes," the trainee replied. "We see your methods are effective in ways we cannot predict. Perhaps learning from you will broaden our minds." Aaron laughed softly. "All right, but remember, humans don't always follow rules. That can be dangerous. You need to practice carefully." The Thalassans nodded eagerly, clearly excited. Aaron spent hours showing them small games, improvisational exercises, and scenarios designed to encourage creativity. Liara watched silently, occasionally offering her own insights, but mostly allowing Aaron to guide the lessons. One afternoon, during a particularly challenging exercise, Liara presented a scenario that tested both human and Thalassan reasoning. A simulated trade fleet was threatened by unpredictable cosmic storms. Humans had to navigate instinctively, Thalassans analytically, and the goal was to save the fleet while minimizing losses. Aaron and the trainees worked together, combining human unpredictability with Thalassan precision. Humans suggested sudden course changes, unconventional maneuvers, and risk-taking strategies. Thalassan's calculated probabilities, adjusted timing, and monitored energy usage. In the end, the fleet navigated safely. Liara, who had observed the exercise from above, nodded slowly. Remarkable, humans and Thalassans working together achieve more than either alone. This is the lesson of cooperation and respect. Aaron smiled, feeling a rare sense of accomplishment. We're learning from each other, right? That's what makes it work. Yes, Liara said quietly. Mutual respect and shared understanding, that is the foundation of real progress. As weeks passed, the relationship between humans and Thalassans deepened. Aaron became a bridge between species, showing that differences were not obstacles, but strengths when approached with respect and creativity. Even council members who had once been skeptical of humans sought his advice. One evening, as Aaron and Liara walked through the floating gardens, he asked, "Do you think humans can really match Thalassans in strategy?" Liara considered the question carefully. Perhaps not in the same way, but humans have qualities we lack: intuition, unpredictability, and imagination. In many situations, these qualities can be more valuable than logic alone. You challenge assumptions, Captain, and that is something the galaxy needs. Aaron smiled. I guess that makes us important in our own way, Liara nodded. Yes, and remember, importance is not given, it is earned. You have begun to earn it here. The violet glow of the gardens surrounded them, reflecting off their faces. For Aaron, it was more than beauty, it was a symbol of potential. Humans had arrived as strangers in an alien world. Now they were respected, even admired. And it was not brute strength or advanced technology that had earned this respect. It was thought, creativity, and courage. That night, as Aaron returned to the human ship, he reflected on the lessons of the past days. He realized that humans had something unique, something the galaxy could not predict or control, the spark of ingenuity. And that spark, combined with respect for others, could open doors that no strength or logic alone could. Aaron's adventures on Thalassa Prime were far from over. The galaxy was full of challenges, mysteries, and civilizations more advanced than his own. But he now understood a vital truth. Humans did not have to be the strongest, fastest, or most logical to make a difference. Sometimes, imagination, courage, and adaptability were enough to inspire respect, create alliances, and change perceptions. And as long as humans held that spark, even a joke could become a lesson, a challenge could become a discovery, and a simple human could make a mark on the stars. The following week, the atmosphere on Thalassa Prime shifted. What had started as curiosity and respect toward humans now carried a subtle tension. News had arrived from a neighboring star system. A rare cosmic event threatened trade routes, fleets, and entire colonies. This was no simple challenge of planning. It required fast thinking, adaptability, and cooperation. Captain Aaron Voss and his crew were called to the Thalassan Command Center. This was no longer about observation or learning. Humans were expected to contribute actively. The room was a massive dome, walls covered in holographic maps of star systems, weather patterns, and asteroid fields. Thalassans moved with precise efficiency, their eyes scanning data streams, their minds calculating countless variables simultaneously. Liara stood near the center, calm as ever, her silver skin shimmering under the soft lights. Captain Voss, she said, this is a serious situation. The cosmic event will affect multiple trade fleets. Predictions suggest significant disruption unless immediate action is taken. Humans have been asked to provide insight because of your unique thinking. Are you ready? Aaron straightened his shoulders. We're ready, let's figure this out. The first briefing outlined the problem. A cluster of unpredictable solar flares was moving across a region of space heavily trafficked by Thalassan and allied ships. Standard Thalassan protocols relied on calculated evacuation routes and fleet timing, but the flares were moving irregularly, faster, and in patterns that made predictions unreliable. Thalassans consulted each other rapidly, calculating risk probabilities with unmatched precision. Aaron listened carefully, noting their logic but also identifying gaps, places where strict adherence to patterns could be exploited by unforeseen events. He remembered the lesson from the duel: unpredictability could be a strength, not just a risk. Liara noticed his focus. Captain, what do you suggest? Aaron stepped forward. We combine strategy with unpredictability. Instead of moving all ships according to fixed schedules, we vary timing and routes slightly. Some ships move early, some later. Some take unexpected detours. It spreads risk and increases survival odds. A murmur ran through the command center. Thalassans were skilled at logic and calculations, but this idea of intentional unpredictability challenged their thinking. Liara's eyes flicked to him, a hint of admiration hidden in her usual calm expression. "You are suggesting controlled chaos," she said softly. "It is risky, but it could work." Aaron smiled. "Sometimes the risk is worth the reward." The plan was put into action immediately. Human and Thalassan crews coordinated fleets, transmitting orders and activating ships. Aaron moved between consoles, giving advice, anticipating unexpected changes, and adjusting orders in real time. His crew followed his instincts, trusting his judgment even when it seemed unconventional. As fleets began moving, the solar flares shifted unpredictably, exactly as predicted. Many Thalassan leaders tensed, expecting disaster, but Aaron's plan worked. The combination of calculated paths and variable timing allowed fleets to avoid the brunt of the flares. Ships passed through the dangerous zone with minimal risk. Liara watched the operation closely. Her usually calm demeanor held a flicker of awe. "Captain Voss," she said quietly, "your human perspective has saved ships today. You have not only matched Thalassan's strategy, but enhanced it." Aaron felt a rush of pride. "It wasn't just me," he said. "We all adapted. Humans, Thalassans, we did it together." After the crisis passed, the Thalassan Council gathered to evaluate the results. Fleets were intact, trade routes minimally disrupted, and the cosmic event had caused far less damage than expected. The council members, who had once been skeptical of humans, now treated them with a new level of respect. One senior council member spoke slowly. "It appears that the humans' approach, combining unpredictability with strategy, has proven more effective than rigid calculation alone. This changes how we view them." Liara turned to Aaron. "Captain, you have shown what we suspected but could not fully believe. Humans are capable of creative thinking that exceeds expectations. Your contribution will not be forgotten." Aaron grinned, though a quiet humility settled over him. "Thank you, Ambassador. I just trust my instincts, and sometimes that's all it takes." The success of the operation brought new opportunities for humans. They were invited to participate in more strategic planning, interstellar negotiations, and even technological development discussions. Aaron became a symbol, not only of human ingenuity, but of the value of unpredictability, creativity, and courage in solving complex problems. Yet with success came new challenges. Some Thalassans viewed humans' unconventional methods as unsettling, even dangerous. Whispers of skepticism spread. Were humans reckless? Could unpredictability sometimes backfire? Aaron understood the concerns. Humans had to prove that creativity could coexist with careful planning. Liara approached him one evening as they reviewed fleet data. "Captain," she said, "there are still those who doubt your methods. Not all Thalassans are comfortable with unpredictability, even when it succeeds. How will you address this?" Aaron thought for a moment. "We show results, we keep learning, keep improving. And we teach them that unpredictability doesn't mean carelessness. It means flexibility, adaptation, and courage. That's how humans survive." Liara nodded slowly. "You have a gift, Captain, not just in strategy, but in showing others the value of your thinking. That is rare in the galaxy." The next challenge arrived without warning. A neighboring system, unfamiliar with Thalassan protocols, sent a distress signal. A colony faced a sudden energy storm, threatening food, water, and shelter systems. Immediate action was required. Aaron, Liara, and selected crews analyzed the situation. The storm's path was unpredictable, moving faster than simulations could calculate. Thalassan strategy alone would not suffice. Human intuition and rapid improvisation were needed. Aaron spoke firmly. "We can't rely only on calculations. The storms move in ways no system can predict. We need to act fast and adjust constantly. That means improvisation." Liara looked at him closely. "Improvisation, you mean relying on instinct?" "Yes," Aaron said. "We'll use logic as a guide, but humans respond to changing conditions in real time. That's our strength. We can do what algorithms cannot." The teams deployed immediately. Human crews worked alongside Thalassans, monitoring storm behavior, adjusting energy shields, rerouting supplies, and protecting colonists. Aaron moved quickly, giving instructions that no one could have predicted, but that worked flawlessly. For hours, the operation continued. Energy surges threatened to overload shields. Supply routes had to be rerouted mid-flight. At every challenge, Aaron's instinctive decisions balanced risk and opportunity. Slowly but surely, the colony stabilized. Liara, watching from above, said quietly to a nearby officer, "The humans' adaptability is extraordinary. They see possibilities we cannot even imagine. Captain Voss leads not with rules, but with vision." When the storm finally subsided, the colony was safe. Supplies intact, infrastructure undamaged, and citizens unharmed. Humans and Thalassans alike were exhausted but proud. For the first time, the galaxy had witnessed the combination of alien precision and human ingenuity working seamlessly together. Council members who had doubted humans now bowed in respect. Even those previously skeptical of Aaron's methods acknowledged that humans could be not only competent but essential allies in situations that required creativity and adaptability. Liara approached Aaron. "You have proven something remarkable. Humans are not merely unpredictable, they are innovators. You have shown courage, intelligence, and the ability to inspire others. This will be remembered for generations." Aaron smiled, tired but proud. "We humans, we can do a lot when we work together, and when we're willing to trust ourselves, even in strange places." Liara nodded. "Yes, and trust, mutual respect, and cooperation is the true key to success. You have reminded us of that, Captain." That evening, as the two walked through the glowing gardens once more, the city beneath them pulsed with lights reflecting off the floating islands. Aaron felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing humans had proven themselves in ways no one expected. Not through strength, not through advanced technology, but through adaptability, creativity, and courage. "You've changed how they see humans," Liara said softly, her gaze on the horizon. "They will not forget this." Aaron shrugged with a grin. "I hope they don't. But more than that, I hope it inspires them to work with us, not just rely on what they know. The galaxy is big, and we can all learn from each other." Liara smiled faintly, a rare expression of warmth. "That is exactly the lesson they, and you, must carry forward. Humanity has a spark. It is rare in the galaxy, and it must be nurtured." Aaron looked at the city lights, shimmering and endless. He knew the adventure was far from over. Challenges awaited. Mysteries called from distant stars, and new opportunities for humans to surprise the galaxy lay ahead. But for the first time, humans were no longer outsiders or jesters. They were partners, respected for the very qualities that made them unpredictable and remarkable. And it all began with what everyone thought was a simple joke. The galaxy had changed, at least in the eyes of Thalassans, and humans were no longer just visitors. They were respected partners. Word of Captain Aaron Voss and his crew's daring, creative thinking had spread far beyond Thalassa Prime. Stories of how humans had solved problems no one expected, navigated cosmic storms, and improved trade strategies traveled between star systems like whispers of legend. On Thalassa Prime, life continued, but something intangible had shifted. Humans now walked the floating streets not as outsiders, but as equals. Thalassan citizens watched them closely, curious, respectful, and sometimes even admiring. And at the center of it all stood Aaron, not just as a human leader, but as a symbol of what humanity could achieve when ingenuity and courage met opportunity. It was a clear morning when Liara approached Aaron on the observation deck above the floating city. The twin suns of Thalassa Prime reflected off her shimmering skin, casting a soft light across the glass-like floors. Aaron was reviewing the latest reports from fleet operations, his brow furrowed slightly in concentration. "Captain," Liara began, her calm voice carrying across the deck, "there is a matter I wish to discuss. Your actions have changed the way Thalassans view humans, but there is more to consider. Will humanity continue to rise to meet the challenges of this galaxy?" Aaron looked up, a small smile playing across his face. "Liara, I think humans will rise to challenges, just like they always have. We're not perfect and we make mistakes, but we learn. And when we work together, there's almost nothing we can't handle." Liara nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "Indeed, your species possesses creativity and adaptability that even the most advanced civilizations sometimes lack. It is rare, and in many ways it is needed." Aaron chuckled. "So basically, humans are the galaxy's wild card." Liara allowed herself the faintest of smiles. A dangerous but valuable wildcard. The days that followed were filled with cooperation and celebration. Trade routes previously considered too dangerous were now managed jointly by humans and thalassans. Colonies affected by cosmic storms received assistance from human teams who brought creativity and adaptability, complementing thalassan precision. Aaron's crew worked tirelessly, teaching humans and thalassans alike how to combine their strengths. Improvisational exercises, quick-thinking drills, and flexible planning sessions became common across the city. Thalassans who had once been skeptical now sought out lessons from human leaders, eager to learn the unpredictable methods that had saved fleets and colonies alike. One evening, Lieutenant Myra approached Aaron as he reviewed fleet reports. "You know, Captain," she said, "you've done more than anyone could have imagined. You've changed how they think about us. Humans are respected now, not just for bravery, but for intelligence, creativity, and courage." Aaron smiled quietly. "It wasn't just me, Myra. Everyone in the crew contributed. Humans, thalassans, we all worked together. And sometimes, it only takes one spark to show the rest what's possible." Liara requested a private meeting with Aaron one afternoon. She led him to a quiet chamber in the council building, walls made of shimmering energy panels that changed colors softly. She gestured for him to sit. "Captain Voss," she began, "you have achieved something remarkable. Humans are now viewed as equals in strategic and diplomatic matters. They respect your species in ways previously unimaginable. But there is one final consideration, the perception of humanity across the galaxy." Aaron leaned forward. "You mean beyond Thalassa Prime?" "Yes," Liara replied. "Other civilizations hear of your deeds. They will expect humans to continue to demonstrate wisdom, courage, and creativity. The galaxy will judge your species by your actions, not your potential. How will you ensure humans live up to that expectation?" Aaron thought for a moment. "By showing them that humans are more than their mistakes. We'll keep learning, keep adapting, and keep working with others. We'll prove that creativity and courage are not just tricks, but strengths. And maybe we'll inspire others to do the same." Liara's eyes softened slightly, the faintest warmth in her expression. "Then you are wise beyond your years, Captain. Perhaps humans are capable of more than even we anticipated." As the weeks passed, humans continued to earn respect across Thalassa Prime. Trade negotiations, fleet coordination, and disaster response efforts included humans as equal partners. Even the most skeptical thalassans began to acknowledge that unpredictability, when combined with intelligence and preparation, could be a powerful tool. Aaron and Liara spent much time together, walking through the glowing gardens, discussing strategy, culture, and philosophy. Though their species were vastly different, they found a shared understanding. Humans brought creativity, courage, and instinct. Thalassans brought precision, logic, and discipline. Together, they had accomplished feats neither could have achieved alone. One evening, as the twin suns set, casting gold and violet light across the floating gardens, Aaron turned to Liara. "Do you think humans will ever fully match thalassans in strategy and calculation?" Liara considered him carefully. "Perhaps not in the same way, but that is not the point. Humans offer something different: imagination, intuition, and flexibility. In many situations, those qualities are more valuable than precision alone. You remind us that rigid logic alone cannot solve every problem." Aaron smiled. "Then maybe we're better together," Liara nodded. "Exactly. Humans and thalassans working together achieve more than either alone. That is the lesson your species must carry forward." The story of Captain Aaron Voss became legend on Thalassa Prime. Humans were no longer viewed as naive visitors, but as capable partners. Children in schools learned about the duel that began as a joke, the exercises that tested skill and creativity, and the cosmic challenges that humans helped navigate successfully. Stories emphasized not only human courage, but also adaptability, problem-solving, and the importance of respect and cooperation. Humans visiting the planet often found themselves welcomed with a new level of curiosity and admiration. Thalassans sought their advice, invited them to participate in planning sessions, and included them in cultural exchanges. The reputation of humanity had shifted from unpredictable outsiders to innovative allies. Aaron watched all this quietly, proud not of himself, but of what humanity had demonstrated. Creativity, courage, and respect had earned more than accolades. They had earned trust and lasting relationships across species. One day, a young Thalassan trainee approached Aaron with hesitation, carrying a small device. Captain Voss, the trainee said politely, we have been practicing the human techniques you taught us. May we demonstrate what we have learned? Aaron smiled. Of course. Show me what you've got. The trainee activated the device, which projected a simulation of a chaotic trade scenario full of unexpected obstacles and rapidly changing conditions. Using the methods Aaron had taught, improvisation, observation, and adaptive decision-making, the trainee navigated the scenario successfully. Every obstacle was met with creativity, every challenge solved with ingenuity. Liara, who had been observing silently, nodded with quiet satisfaction. The next generation is learning well. Humans have not only earned respect, but they are inspiring others to think differently. Aaron laughed softly. I think humans just like surprising people. Liara allowed herself a faint smile. Perhaps, but in doing so you teach the galaxy a lesson, that ingenuity, courage, and respect are stronger than assumptions and tradition alone. Months later, the Galactic Exploration Corps returned to Earth. Humans were celebrated not only for their daring, but for proving that intellect and creativity could rival even the most advanced civilizations. Aaron and his crew were recognized for their leadership, but more importantly, they had shown humanity's true potential. On Thalassa Prime, Liara continued her work as ambassador, often consulting Aaron's crew for advice, insight, and collaboration. Their partnership became a model for interstellar relations, proof that cooperation between species, grounded in respect and curiosity, could achieve what none could accomplish alone. One evening, as Aaron prepared to leave for another mission, he stood with Liara on the observation deck, watching the city glow beneath them. I never thought a joke would lead to this, he said, shaking his head. Liara's silver eyes met his. Neither did I. Yet it is precisely what demonstrates the potential of your species. Sometimes, courage begins with a small step, a spark of imagination, or even a simple joke. And sometimes it changes everything. Aaron smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. Humanity had arrived as outsiders, but through creativity, courage, and respect, they had earned a place among the stars. As his ship lifted from the floating docks, rising above the violet forests and glowing islands, Aaron looked back at Thalassa Prime. He knew the galaxy was vast, full of challenges, opportunities, and civilizations yet to meet. But for the first time, he was confident that humans had proven themselves capable of not just surviving, but inspiring, creating, and earning respect wherever they went. And it had all begun with a joke.